have Yellow Hanky on the mind. So that takes a whole different meaning when you say that, Jeff.
Wow.
What? Start streaming. Okay, gotcha. Took me a second.
What kind of podcast is this?
It's okay. It's a safe space. You'll be fine.
We do have shows called Let's Talk About Kink, so.
And that's fine. I'm just saying, am I going to be seeing someone pee? I don't.
No, not this episode.
I did not consent to that.
That's on our XTube channel.
Oh, man. First and only time he'll be on the show.
I sure hope not with that handsome face. Okay, it's not saying anything about it. Okay, cool. That's fine. Fine. Everything's fine here. How are you? We have a Drew in the chat room.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Hey, Drew.
Oh, go away. I don't think I got a notification.
No, but we are live.
Where?
So, Brian, if you do want to join the chat room, it's at our live page here.
Ooh.
Chat. I'm going to close out of this.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, I'll have to watch later, so it's not staying. That's all right. All right, so Brian, you're amazing because you already wrote down how you want me to introduce you. Love that.
I was told to.
Oh, good.
I was told to.
Somebody follows instructions.
Look at that.
They were suggestions.
No requirements, just suggestions.
Uh-huh. Somebody gave parameters.
All right, are we ready to do this, sumbitch?
Yes.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
And that's why I did it.
I hate you so much.
Rude.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2. It's October 8th, 2017. I'm Jeff.
Who's your bear? That's right. I am your bear.
I'm Damon.
I am Chester.
This room is a pigsty, and you're a dirty pig boy.
And that makes me Gary.
Don't hurt nobody with your bad self.
And welcome to Cubs Out Loud, the Bear Podcast of Indeterminate Length, episode number 435. And we have a guest with us, Brooklyn-based author of weekly webcomic SquareBears and drawer of Naked Men's, Brian. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
See, I read it
You're
verbatim.
welcome.
We'll be talking to you more about that whole webcomic and drawing Naked Men's things a little bit later. But first, we are going into this. Same shit, different week. That's it. Damon?
Same shit, different week?
Yeah, pretty much it. Things, stuff, watching
wow.
shows, working on transmog gear and WoW.
Stuff with work. Wow.
Work.
There we go.
Stuff.
Got it. Okay. Well then, so a few things have been going on. I've got something. I've gone to the doctor, so there's some kind of illness going on. It is nothing serious. Don't worry about it. It's a potentially vascular condition. Something showed up on my legs a couple of weeks last week, and has had an issue. I'm fine. Really, I'm fine.
But wait a minute.
I'm just.
Did you go to urgent care, or did you actually just go to a regular doctor?
I went to an urgent care first. They referred me to a dermatologist. You cannot get into a dermatologist for 5 months. So, January, February. So I was referred. I was told to go to a internal medicine doctor, and then maybe they could go to a tri-health or a bigger kind of group health kind of company to where they could maybe push someone in if they need a test done or what have you. So I did that. So I have established care with a primary care physician.
You got a GP?
Possibly. I like him. It was a really good first session, but we were obviously wanting to treat the condition first. I think once I get past that, I'm going to then maybe go on. The issue is that this doctor is in Delhi, which is about 10-15 minutes away from me, but it's easy for me to get to it by bus. It's not as close to the house as I would like it to be, but it's possible. So
10 to
I'm thinking
15
about
minutes?
it.
That's not bad.
Well, not when you have to take a bus. Because a bus could basically multiply by 2 or 3, depending on what you're doing. Anyway, so once we get this taken care of, I may stay with them, because I really did like the guy when we did the first reading. He seems very calm, so we'll see. So there's that. I'm getting treated for that. I'm on prednisone right now to kind of deal with the rash situation, and I've not been, which is doing pretty well. It's fucking a whole lot of other things up, but that's okay. I went on Saturday to pick up my, I think, since we're talking Brian and comics and stuff, I picked up my pull file for Marvel and DC and other comics that I've been lacking since July. So it was a nice, healthy stack.
Jesus Christ. Dude.
I don't go that often. So I get a big stack of comics, and that's my life. And I'm still behind on the previous 2 stacks of comics that I haven't really gotten all the way through. So there's a lot of stuff I'm just not sure about yet. And then finally, last night, our friend Brady Pup Tibbers had a fundraiser at Argos, which is here in Dayton. He had asked me, as a member of SquareBears, to do some flogging demos, and I did. And I also got flogged and watched people get fire flash and other things, because Dane and Joe were there, and they did Violet Wand, and there was a whole bunch of shit going on. It was really crowded, because there was also a group Trident from Columbus that came down and invaded. So it was this whole big group of people, and it was a really great time and a whole lot of people. But man, since it was raining, everyone was inside, so it got really hot and really crowded. The bar's not big, but it was just a lot of people, so it got really warm. But I had a good time. Brady raised a good amount of money for his travel fund, which is really cool. So thanks for inviting me, Brady. I know you're either listening or will be listening, so cool.
I'm sure the fire didn't help with it.
Well, they were doing it for a little while, and unfortunately what he does is quick enough to where it's not ever burning. There may have been a candle kind of off to the side, but that was just one candle. But the heat it was mostly heat from all the semi-naked and clothed men and a few women. There were women there, but it was a lot of, it was a good event. The bar's just super small, and when everyone kind of crowds into one space, it just amps up the temperature, and you can escape kind of, but you're going to get wet. So Chester?
So I've been hitting the gym pretty hard lately. And if you were paying attention to my Facebook feed last week, you could take that however you want.
Nice.
But I paid for a personal trainer a few weeks ago, and he's been kicking my ass all over the gym. So my body aches in places that I'm not used to having ache. But one of the bad things is I'm not, because I'm doing so much weight training and I'm getting exhausted doing it, I'm not doing as much cardio as I'd liked, because I'm in the gym to lose weight, and my weight is staying the same because I'm putting muscle on. So I need to talk about scaling back some of the weight training and adding in some cardio. And to tie it back into my previous comment, so on Tuesday last week, I get done with my workout and I go into the steam room, and I come out of the steam room, and there's this guy sitting on there's a bench right next to the door, and the bench is in between the steam room and the showers. So I put all of my shower stuff on the bench. Come out of the steam room, and there's this guy sitting there, and he's just like sitting there, just hanging out, doing whatever. I'm not even really sure. But I open up the door, and he kind of looks at me, and I go over and get my stuff, and then he looks at me again, and then I go into the shower. And my first thought is, oh, well, he's attractive, he's handsome. I wonder why he's just sitting there. I get done with my shower, and I open up the curtain, and he's standing across from me on the opposite shower going in. And again, we make eye contact, and I'm like, okay, well, if this was a bathhouse, I'd be making a move, but this is a gym. So I go over to my locker, and I'm getting dressed, and I get all done, and he comes out, and he's getting dressed. We make eye contact again. Go over to the sinks, finish all my stuff, like fixing my hair and brushing my teeth and whatever. And as I'm finishing, he comes walking out of the locker area, and he's walking right behind me the entire time as we're leaving the gym. And I hold the door open for him, and he thanks me, and I say, "You're welcome." And then I'm following him all the way to our cars. And then I'm getting in my car, and he looks back at me one more time, and I'm like, oh, I'm freaking out because I want to make a move, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, it's one of those things, like, if I were in a very, if this is a bathhouse or a gay bar, I'd be all about saying something, but I'm not. I'm at a gym. I'm in a public place, and it's one of those things where I'm kind of scared to say something.
Okay, I'm just gonna be perfectly honest. If it happened once or twice, yeah, let's just pass it off. But honey, this was 5 times.
I know.
5 times. Like there's a like, oh, this is kind of cute, and oh, okay, whatever. To like, yeah, he wants you. Yeah. Like you're just.
I get that. Rationally, I get that, and even in the back of my head, I'm thinking, he's looking. He keeps making eye contact with me. And it's a little bit, I'm getting the signal, but at the same time, it's just, I'm a little too scared about, saying something, given in the place we were at.
It's the what's the word? I don't know. The thing of an introvert.
Oh, maybe. But it's one of those things where I would have been, it would have been odd, and if it happened. If it was 3 times and then stopped, I might have been like, okay, clearly this wasn't meant to be. I think this was definitely a universe, like, slamming this guy in your face kind of thing. Like, but on the same token, I understand the reservations. I respect your decisions to kind of tread cautiously. However, if you see him again, have a conversation, if nothing else.
Right. I've already decided to switch up my gym times to coincide with the time that I saw him at, because when he was getting dressed, I noticed he was putting on work clothes, so it makes me think that he was doing the same as I was, getting dressed or going to the gym right before work.
Ah,
So I've been going to the gym to aim around that time, and I've already decided if I see him again, I am going to say something.
It's a slow move on it. Just kind of like, was it really? Huh? What? Huh? Well, let's check.
Even if something happens, what am I going to do? It's not like I'm going to date the guy. It's just a matter of, well, hey, you want to go to the steam room for a couple extra minutes?
terrible.
Or we'll go across town to the bathhouse.
Or you'll go in the shower stall that you were... Anyway.
Moving on.
So, there was that, and the other thing that happened is yesterday I stood in line for 53 minutes at a McDonald's to get Szechuan sauce.
Oh.
And I was 3 people short.
Oh.
Wait.
I forgot.
What? Oh, never mind.
He didn't get it. Yeah,
I didn't get it. They sold out 3 people ahead of me.
They were it was a very limited run. They were doing it. So for those who if you haven't followed, if you don't know, so there's the Rick and Morty show that has there was an episode when they premiered in April, and one of the big things that Rick was all about is like the Szechuan sauce, which was the special sauce that McDonald's came out in the 1990s for promotion for the Mulan movie. That's pretty much it. So it got so much buzz that McDonald's agreed to bring it out for a very limited release. They literally have because they have these new buttermilk crispy chicken tenders or something like that, and they have all these different sauces. And for the release on Saturday, they were having this special event where they were giving out all the sauces, and one of them was the Szechuan sauce. And they have very few places that were giving them out. Like I checked online here, and the closest one was again in Delhi, and there's also one in Covington, which is across the river. So it's just this, and the idea obviously was to get as many people in to get the sauce and what have you. So yeah, 3 people, and you're in line for almost an hour.
Yeah.
Shit.
It wasn't. I see people posting pictures of their McDonald's with lines wrapped around the blocks, and the McDonald's that I went to is in Short North on the OSU campus. So, and it was game day, so most of the people that were in there were there for the football game. So it kind of makes me wonder how many of these people were actually there to eat at McDonald's, and how many people were there to actually go there for the sauce.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both.
Anyway,
yeah,
Gary.
So, for those of you that are watching us on YouTube live or in the future, you will know that the background has drastically changed
no,
for my location.
Won't say anything.
So, yeah, I did a runaway road trip for the weekend. I put in a lot of hours for work, and I've been kind of stressed about stuff, and so I confirmed about midweek about making the trip down here to Kentucky. So it was actually a very long time in the planning. I had asked Chess. So, surprise! That's whose house I'm in right now, actually in the dungeon.
no.
So, I had said... What's that?
I was going to say, you're actually just in a living room.
Just, couch space.
Just mudroom in between the kitchen and the garage.
There you go.
Have a St. Andrew's cross and a sling and, whole wall full of accoutrement and implements. So, yeah. Yeah, no, so anyways, I had said to Chess when I knew that they moved, I said, hey, do you have a timeline as to when do you think you guys will be settled in the new house I'd like to come visit and stay for the weekend? And he's like, yeah, and at the time they were just dealing with some moving stuff. So I checked back in recently, and it was their personal schedule, mine, and what was going to line up, and I knew what was happening with me. Like I was probably going to have a very brief window of a weekend because I still have an international travel abroad thing coming up that hasn't been officially booked, so I don't know when exactly that's going to happen. So I checked in. I was like, "Hey, I can't recall. Do you have plans this weekend?" I was like, "Nope, we're home." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll plan to come down." So I left work early on Friday and then drove all the way down here to Kentucky, and I'm leaving today. So because he's like, "What was your like arrival to kind of departure times?" And I told him, I said, I can't leave till probably after I finish the podcast because there's no way I could drive either to make it all the way home, or I would have been doing either showing up at your house, Damon, or at your house, Jester, or on the trip, like back, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah. And in classic fashion, this weekend has been mostly Chess and I having very long conversations. When I got in on Friday night, we were up until just before the sun arose, like it was like 6 a.m. He actually said, "All right, listen, dude," because he was aware the whole time, but we had many conversations about things, and he was like, "Yeah, it's bad." And plus, he was actually starting to fade at that point. So his husband, had gone to bed many hours before. In fact, I think Joe was actually already in bed when I arrived by the time I got here. So yeah. So then we were up late last night again.
Maybe I should loan some ice locks to Chess, and when they finally break, that's when your conversations are done. Kink and conversation.
It's a kinky conversation.
That's like a whole new series, I think.
On the next episode of Let's Talk About Kink.
It's kink and conversation. It's the less formal, like coffee talk
conversation.
Coffee kink. No. Oh, okay.
Nice. So, anyways, I needed to kind of like be able to not think about work and stuff, which didn't actually work because I did check email while I was here remotely, and I did a half hour of work yesterday morning. When I woke up, I was checking email, and luckily it was something I could do remote. But yeah, so but no, it was good to just like connect and commiserate and go over things. And then we went out to dinner last night, and Joe and Chess took me to a local Thai place with really good food, and so that was nice. And then so that's how everybody found out where I was pretty much, because Chess had taken a picture of Joe and I across the table, and then there was and I don't know what happened in the U.S., but a lot of people in a lot of cities saw beautiful rainbows in the evening last night.
Uh-huh.
So my Facebook was just full of those pictures. And they all happened probably within about 2 hours after when Chess had caught. He looked outside and he's like, "Oh, look, there's a really nice rainbow." So he's about the first to notice. And then I'm paying attention. And then, like, you see other people paying attention. And, like, then the staff goes outside in the parking lot and the sidewalk and they're, like, taking pictures of the rainbow. This couple sitting to my right is like, "What is going on?" And I was like, "Oh, there's a really big rainbow outside." So the wife gets up and goes and looks. She goes, "Oh, wow, that's really nice." And then finally the husband's like, "Oh, I guess I better go look." Like, I mean, it was one of these things, like, everybody could not look at the rainbow. But so yeah, so Chess takes the pictures and then he posts them on Facebook, and I was like, "Where did you put that?" I wasn't trying to keep this on the DL the whole weekend, but at the same time, I wasn't making a big announcement about it.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things that I tried to lay low and just not be like, "Hey, I'm checking in here and that's and that, and I'm waving to all these people while I'm driving past these places and all that stuff."
It was a time for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to some podcasts on the way, and I did some serious thinking about some stuff. I actually wrote a poem. Wrote isn't correct. Dictated speech to text while driving.
Hey Siri, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood.
Nice.
Which I had not understood yet in text-to-speech what the commands are to get it to do certain things, so I'm actually trying to look up on the internet how the hell you do text-to-speech, because I knew you could tell it punctuation, but then I didn't understand next line and next paragraph, so I'm saying all sorts of things like return, enter like whatever on a keyboard makes sense to do the next thing, and it wasn't working. So yeah, it was a little complicated in a way, but I kind of figured it out. So yeah, it's been good. It's just been good to get away and relax and hang out. And we had a really good conversation last night, and just about generations and things are changing, and lots of talk about moving. Chester, you're familiar with this. Like, you don't know how much shit you've got in your life until you move, and then you really are kind of mad at yourself or frustrated or upset or stressed because you're like, holy fuck, I have a lot of stuff. So
Yeah. When you think, oh, this should be a big enough truck, and then you pack it and you're like, wow, I barely had enough room.
well, let's be serious though. I mean, who doesn't like to pack it in tightly? I mean,
Oh, good Lord.
you set yourself up for that. I'm sorry, you really did.
You're not sorry. Don't apologize.
No, right.
You're right. I'm not really sorry about it. I mean, you just went and presented it. I mean, it was right there. No choice but to do something with it. Should we talk to our guest?
Yes.
So, Brian, what have you been up to?
A couple things. So this weekend was Comic-Con in New York. Yeah, so I went to that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, taking the day off. I saw a lot. I walked around. I saw the Steven Universe panel. I saw the Happy panel, which is a new show with Christopher Maloney on Sci-Fi. They showed us the pilot episode, and it was weird. And then I saw the Magicians panel, which was cool because like the entire cast was there. I just walked around Artist Alley and met a lot of comic book artists and cartoonists that I follow on Instagram.
Sweet.
Yeah, I saw some fun cosplay. Like one guy, the event is held in the Javits Center, which is this big glass building that's got like a metal framework, and he actually cosplayed as the Javits Center. So he went to Comic-Con as Comic-Con. Pretty genius.
Question. Not to interrupt. I'm confused as to what that would look like. Is there like pictures posted on the internet or anything?
I'm sure there are pictures somewhere. I can track one down. But basically, he took a couple cardboard boxes and then covered them in like a reflective silver material and put grids on it. Just built the Javits Center on top of himself.
Interesting.
Nice.
And some of my friends went as a group they mashed up Power Rangers and Sailor Moon. And it was pretty amazing.
Pictures?
Friend, if you go to Instagram and look up Gio Realness, I think he posted pictures on there. And then I think he tags all of his friends in it. But they're like a cosplay group. They're these 5 guys, and they always take like 5-person groups and put them together. So,
oh my gosh, these are fantastic!
Right?
Uh-oh. Now I have to see.
Link.
Wait, keep going. Keep on.
Keep going, Brian. Don't worry about you. We'll work on it.
Yeah, they just do a lot of Sailor Moon stuff, mashing up. I think they did Sailor Moon and the Gems one year, or not the Gems, the Gem.
And the holograms.
Yeah.
So the Sailor Moon holograms.
Yes.
So this year they were what? Power Sailors or Sailor Rangers?
Sailor Rangers.
Sailor Rangers. I think a couple of them also like did a Zelda Sailor Moon mashup, which was really cool.
Oh my fucking god!
But their execution of their ideas is so great.
That is epic.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Wow.
Their outfits are so well done too. Like you could tell they put thought and energy into the outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, they're really cool.
Was there a contest of any sort, or like a runway walk, or you know what I mean? Like anything for them to show off while they were there?
I think that there are some panels that do like costume contests and stuff. I didn't go to any of them, but there are just so many cosplayers there, and if you just stand like outside the main floor, there are people just roaming around. Like there was a swamp thing. It who literally, like, if he like stood next to a waterfall or something, he would just blend into it. It was amazing.
Awesome.
And there was a full Voltron, like the actual Voltron robot that was like fully functional and could move.
Did its parts come off?
I don't think so, but all the guys from the new version of the cartoon were there too. That was really cool. And then so that was Comic-Con. I've also been doing Inktober, which is every year artists on like Instagram and Tumblr and stuff will do a drawing a day for October. So what I did last year and what I'm doing again this year is I took cartoon characters that are bears in the human sense, and then I draw them as bears in the animal sense. So yeah,
Nice.
they're all on my Instagram, but I do have the originals here. So I drew Robotnik as a bear.
Sweet.
I did Coop from Megas XLR as a bear. And this one is my favorite. Edit. Bear.
I really like that one, but I like Baymax in general.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
But yeah, that's what I'm doing this month. Like, my comic is on hiatus while I just do the drawing.
October.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're still drawing. You're still being artistic. You're just
Yeah.
putting a pause on one, moving to something else for a
So
moment.
this is Inktober.
Inktober.
Ah.
Classic bear culture, putting a pun in everything. I actually do that with their names. Like, it's Robertnik instead of Robotnik. And Bear Max instead of Baymax.
Nice.
It makes me happy, but also makes me a little ill.
Yeah, just little. Just
Little.
But as you said, it's part of bear culture, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's basically what I've been doing.
Very
Sweet.
cool.
So we've got something else, don't we?
Oh, yes. Chester, what did you do?
Okay, first off, I want to say that Gary had asked me a question about this in a chat a couple nights ago, and I intentionally didn't answer it. I quit my job.
What?
Congratulations.
They were doing some shady shit. So I finally got through most of the training, and we went out onto the floor, and I was taking a call, and I was in the middle of making a sale for this woman who was flying international, and I needed her passport information. And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm waiting on my new passport to arrive. Can I give you my old passport information?" And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a no. My team lead tells me, "No, it's okay. Go ahead and take her information. You want to make sure that you make the sale." So I put in basically illegal information for somebody's passenger data for their flights. And I was like, "Nope, not having any of this."
Okay, so just because I need clarifying details on this. So her passport had expired. She previously has had a U.S. passport. She just didn't have an active one. So it's been beyond 10 years since the first one was issued, or the latest one, I guess we should say.
Yeah.
And all she's waiting on is for the renewal to arrive?
Right. But your passport numbers change.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's not like when you renew a passport, you just get a new one and no information changes. All of that information changes.
Okay.
Interesting.
See, that part I didn't know. I presumed it was just the expiration or active dates. Like, that would be the only thing, and then everything. Because, like, my driver's license, it's the same numbers I've had ever since I got my state driver's license.
I mean, you're all connected in the system, but the passport number will change.
Interesting.
So that happened on one day, on Friday. And when I came into work, I talked to one of my supervisors about it, and they were just like, "All right, just, you're in the right. Don't, let us know if something like that happens again. And then on Monday, this is like an hour into work, I'm on a call with somebody else, and they wanted a very specific class of flight, which is normally not something that we do. We normally give them the cheapest flight available, but this guy specifically asked for first class. And I had asked my team lead, hey, how do I code this? And they walk me through it. And at the end of it, I'm all done. I send the information off. And in the middle of the phone call, he's like, hey, I just got a message from Delta about the flights that you just booked for me. I wanted first class on these flights, and you put me in premium economy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry about that. Hold on and let me get my supervisor, and we'll get this taken care of.
Right.
So I put him on hold, and then a supervisor comes over, and they look at it, and they're like, oh yeah, you put them in this class. And I'm like, well, actually, I didn't. They put it in there. I just did what they told me to do.
Right.
And then I go and fix it. It was like a $600 difference. And then they're like, well, now you got to get back on the phone and explain to the customer why there's a difference. And I'm like, I've got to do that? How is this my fault? So then I click back over, and I'm talking to the guy, and he immediately gets pissed. He's like, well, you told me it was going to be this amount. Now you're telling me I've got to pay $600 more? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. You know, I have no answers for you. It's a mistake that was made. I apologize, blah, blah, blah. And then he asked to talk to my supervisor, so I put him on hold, got him over to a supervisor, and then I went to human resources, and I quit. I am not going to do that shit. Not when somebody is telling me how to do something, and they're giving me the wrong information, and it's going to come back on me.
I'm just gonna, because corporate America just is always this weird, like, shades of gray kind of thing sometimes, and there's things that you have to, like, that you're gonna be the fall person, and that's the part that kind of really sucked. Is like, yeah, you're kind of the blame for it, but it's not you. It's this over here, or this over here, or this person over here, and
but
so
you're the person who's on the phone with the customer. You're the person they're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So while they are probably angry, but I wouldn't. Well, really, they're not angry at you. They're angry at what happened. If that makes any sense, it doesn't feel that way as the person who's the frontline face of the company. So it's. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I don't think I would have done it, like, quit that quickly, but I could totally understand where you're coming from, and probably if that's really kind of their constant process, how they act, I would say that you justifiably had justifiable reasons to quit, and good on you.
Yeah, I mean, Damon and I kind of work sort of like in the industries, in this area. And I'm not going to really get into right now on the show about, like, all the things that kind of probably went wrong, like, process-wise about that. But I will say this, and I will say this to anybody. I'll say this in a training class. Like, if I'm, in instructing with people, you need to do what is right by you. Because I've actually said this in the past. I had a trainee that questioned about, because I work in the call center industry, and they found out about a particular client we had, and they had a personal objection to it. So they actually asked a really great question, and they said, is it possible to not get those calls? Because we do kind of what's called shared environment, so we take lots of different types of calls from different groupings, so you're not dedicated. And so I said, it is not possible in the current system to block an exact type of call or a particular client coming to you. And it wasn't at that time with us, and they said, oh, And they said, well, I really object personally to the subject matter. Like, I don't want to have a discussion about this or anything. And I said, I can understand that. And then I had to tell them, I said, this particular job situation is one in which you'll have all sorts of things that you get presented with that you handle. And if you think that that's something that you're, not going to be comfortable with, you need to make the decision on how you want to proceed. I said, I'm not going to tell you to quit, and I'm not going to tell you to stay. And I'm not going to tell you, severities of like, well, if you don't like it, there's the door. And I'm also not going to say, suck it up, buttercup. Like, I'm just going to basically say, you have to make the best decision for you, which is what I've always said when I was instructing classes and people were kind of waffling and they weren't sure they could do the job or they felt comfortable with it. I was always like, it's on you. You have to decide that. And that's how I feel, Chester, is if you are uncomfortable with it, I need to make the decision like, it's not for me. And it gets more gray and more difficult when it's questionable morality. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't align with your personal compass. So you're like, I don't really care for this. I don't like this particular thing. And you go from there. Now, I will say this. When I first joined the company that I work for now, that I've been with for quite some time, there were moments that I was kind of like, I don't really like XYZ or whatever. But I also learned quickly that there's a larger picture perspective. It's very difficult to have, especially when you're on a low-level position, meaning like within the hierarchy. It doesn't make things right. It doesn't dismiss them or give them an excuse, but sometimes you understand like nuance and difference of things. And what could have happened, which is me not making excuses, you got dealt a shitty hand twice by either two different people or by a person, and it may not be represented the company. It is more represented that person, and that's a larger problem for them, if that makes sense. But you won't know that as a new employee. You won't know. No one will ever know. You take a job and like your immediate supervisor is an absolute prick, but the things they do aren't so much about their personality. It's more the work that they like do. It can be difficult to gauge and be like, until you find out later and be like, oh yeah, that person is actually just a problem person. It's not the system. It's not the company. And you won't know that. Your leaving though could be sort of the first step, or one of a rank of things that they start to figure that out, because that type of stuff should not go unnoticed. If a team lead, a supervisor, whatever, keeps losing people, you know what I mean? Like someone hopefully will kind of catch that in the quality process and be like, hey, your team is constantly dynamic and changing. A lot of other teams don't really shift much. Like people don't leave, they don't move, they don't change shifts, they don't leave the job or whatever. So when you went to HR, did you do an exit interview?
I did.
Were you honest and authentic in your explanation of why you were leaving in your exit interview?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I spelled it out very clearly to them, and I even reminded her that I said to her, I said, maybe I'm being hypercritical because I have 4 years in human resources and 4 years in customer service in a high capacity environment. So it could just be me being hypercritical, but these are the things that I see wrong. And if it were me, this is how it should have gone. And then the HR person and I talked for like a good 45 minutes to an hour about things that have changed over time and how they're constantly working better towards making the business better. And at the end of it, I was like, you know what? You've got my resume. I've already applied for an HR position here. Ball's in your court.
Wow. You handled that really well, honestly. Like, because you didn't burn the building down. You didn't fire starter that bitch. You didn't hit the nuclear button. Like, you didn't do what a lot of people I have.
I think we
old song that won't know. You did not say take this job and shove it, and just basically, and then go on social media and scour the hell out of and start flame war stuff. So I think that was good of you to be like, I'm going to be kind of diplomatic about it, but I'm also going to be very frank with them. And that's one of the most interesting things is some of us, and I think we as a group are all a part of these, we are kind of like a little bit of an agent of change personality, meaning we want things to be better. We will try to make them better via the work that we do within the company, how we do that stuff. The downside is that depending on your position, you may or may not be able to do that. So the power or the impact, the percentage that plays out is a little different, and that's why people usually want to move up the ladder. So they don't want to be on the lowest level; they want to, move up to management or director or C-suite or whatever. And they know the higher you get, yeah, like you get more money and you get other things, but one personal motivation might be, I can really like dictate change. Like I can work at making policy better or customer, relations or client relations, whatever it is. So I think that was good on you. You were like, hey, like I've given you my information in that. And if that person is really impressed with you, that's good. And I'm glad you took that amount of time because honestly, that means that they were invested in you in a way because I know a lot of exit interviews. They're just like, here's a form, here's a website, please fill out this thing. That's great. Nice to have us, see you later or never.
Yeah. The HR person was very receptive and wanted to actually discuss things on a conversational level. And I think that's part of why it went that way is because I didn't walk into their office and say, fuck this, I'm quitting. It was, hey, I just want you to let you know that I'm going to be quitting, and these are the reasons why. And we had a frank discussion about it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the smartest move for you because you actually went outside of the department. Like you went, I hate to say this, but sometimes when things stay internal, like very, very close local, people don't know shit that's going on. But if you go actually to, I don't want to say the proper authorities, but if you go somewhere else, then other parties know, and then they kind of have to make a decision whether they're going to ignore it, document it, do something about it. So, and it really kind of sounds to me like you just ended up with some really bad advice on some things. In terms of the issue about that you had to speak to the person on the phone about the rate increase piece, a lot of companies kind of have that type of policy because their feeling is like it's more of a one-call resolution, like you should handle all the stuff. The downside is one, you're a new employee, and that's not fair. Two, if they're actually caring about their customer, they will do everything they can to fix a wrong situation.
And that's exactly why I decided, you know what, this isn't for me.
Yeah. So lesson has been learned, and hopefully soon we'll hear that they got back to you with maybe a nice job offer.
To wrap all that up, I'm sure you guys have seen that on my Facebook. I've been feeling kind of down, like my life feels like it's been taking a hit. And I know Gary and I have discussed this at length a few times now with the move and getting the job and then quitting my job. I'm just not where I need to be. And now you all know why, because I've been keeping this under wraps since last Monday.
That makes sense.
But now it's out there. So let's get on to our topic.
Well,
We
first
still got
off,
feedback. Now, whoever thought we'd be doing commercials?
I know I sure as heck didn't.
being that we're a smaller scale podcast, we don't have advertisers knocking down our door to give us money, and that's okay.
Which is why we want to take a moment and tell you about two really great ways you can support Cubs Out Loud.
Over the past 9 years, COL has produced hundreds of audio episodes, and now we have matching video episodes for you to enjoy.
This year, we introduced the new COL logo and launched our new merch store over at Zazzle.com/CubsOutLoud.
Or you can also use the COL merchandise link on our podcast website to pull up the online store.
Here you can take a look at through a range of products, including t-shirts, hats, poker chips, underwear, backpacks, and various other things with the COL logo on them.
And keep an eye out for new things to be added based on your interests and requests.
We typically can be found showing these great items off in the video stream of our shows.
Also, to help with our new format, we're doing YouTube video shows that help create the audio version. We have a GoFundMe campaign underway at gofundme.com/COLstream.
This campaign allows us to afford upgrading the PC that Jeff uses to produce our shows. Plus, a better computer means better quality streams.
And thanks in advance for not only listening to Cubs Out Loud, but helping support the podcasts too.
I just ordered a white sleeveless shirt.
Ooh.
So that should be on its way soon. Wearing my regular Texas orange t-shirt. So Gary,
Nice.
who do you have on?
Oh my god,
What are you wearing?
What are you wearing? Oh my god! So as far as Cubs Out Loud goes, I have my hat. I didn't really grab much else, but I do inappropriately want to take a moment and show off the shirt that I bought that I'm wearing because I saw it online and I couldn't pass it up, and I thought it was quite hysterical. So I don't know if y'all can actually read it.
Wait a minute. Ha!
You can read it out loud.
Dick stiff, balls full. Ask your doctor if fellatio is right for you.
Ta-da!
I love
So, yeah.
the typeface that they used for fellatio because to me, it looks like it should be on the front of like a baseball jersey.
Yeah, it's a collegiate sport kind of cursive font, but that's why I loved it because
It's fellatio.
what's funny about it is if you don't read it, I think you can have people just gloss over it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just a shirt with a cute saying or something. But that does not mean I've given myself license to wear it in public. Hence, I was like, I will wear it in an appropriate space. So I thought Chess and Joe's home might be okay as a space to.
I'm sure it's very okay.
Might be okay.
Yeah, just a guess. So.
In any case, let's quickly get through this next part. So, Damon and Chester, get ready. Damon, what do we got on YouTube?
Over on YouTube, we have a new subscriber. His name is Dogai, or her name is Dogai, or their name is Dogai.
His name, because he
their name.
Their name is Dogai.
I think he's the guy who messaged me on Growler. So, Chester?
Over on Twitter, we have one new follower, Ludov Ludek, LUDOVTLUDEK. And then over on Tumblr, we have two new followers, Goliath King, and then Canadian Cub. It's Canadian Cub. And
Nice.
He's really cute.
Yes, yes, he is.
We have two comments. The first one's by Curves and Crevices, and it was in regards to episode 433, quick fire questions. Love 433, such fun. Yes, I'm a little behind. I don't think 2 shows is behind. I'm a tall guy and would happily pretzel up any way necessary for Gary. I'm pretty sure it was in response to me asking you what your favorite position in 69 would be.
Oh, okay.
Upper bottom in 69. I'm totally with you on burritos, robot or not. 102, robot or not, 102. And then sandwiches, he's put a link in there. I'm not sure what the link is for. And then he also said, Chester's sign-offs are fast becoming one of my favorite parts of the show. You guys are awesome.
It's that link is to a podcast called The Robot or Not. Autoplay.
Turn that shit off.
Anyways.
Stop the autoplay.
Just for clarification, I picked up that sign-off from Ray Smith.
And you know where he got that from.
I don't.
Oh, I thought it was super obvious where all that comes from.
No.
Oh.
I recognize that type of thing, but I can't place the exact place.
I totally took it from from Katya and Trixie.
I've yet to watch a full episode of that. I only flipped it.
Well, when you see the beginning of the episode, they always introduce themselves as. And so they do this long thing about, I'm the word on your balls that you wish would never go away, Trixie. Like, it's this, and they're just ridiculous, intro things, and they're always changing, and they're always sort of off the cuff. Although I did find out, in one of them, Trixie, she's like, I came up with that shower, and I've been waiting, to use it, and so they're meant to be, kind of silly and fun. So when you started doing them, I was like, oh, this is totally an homage to that.
And I'm like,
I was doing it because of Ray, and then apparently Ray gets it from there. But
that's my guess. He could come on the show and correct us all and be like, "Wrong, bitches. I get it from I don't know someone."
We have another Tumblr comment. What's that?
Rotunda Plum said, in regards to Jeff's 15-day regrowth of his beard, handsome bear is handsome.
Oh.
It was 2 days ago. Today is the 17th. Another post went up. I finally figured out how to cross-post to Tumblr from the Instagram account. So,
Well,
which really isn't that hard, but I just never did it until now. So,
it happens.
but it should be cross-posting now whenever I do it and remember.
Okay.
All right. With that, moving on. Let's finally talk to our guest.
Yay,
Well,
show topic time.
By the way, we only have about 7 minutes, so if you could kind of like all condense it into. I am sorry, that was horrible. Anyways,
So,
We have an indeterminate length.
Right.
so you can make it as short or as long as you want.
Okay. Do I just talk?
So tell us about yourself. Like,
Yes.
tell us about your
Okay.
comic and where it came from and all that stuff.
Sure.
Tell us about
so yeah,
SquareBears.
I write and draw a weekly webcomic called SquareBears. I post it on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, probably Growler. I think it flows through to there. But I've been writing it for about 3.5 years now.
wow.
I've been drawing since middle school, but that used to be like, stick figure Dragon Ball Z fights that I would just draw in my notebooks. But a couple years ago, I was working at this finance job that I was super bored at. And I had all these Post-its because, you work in an office, you get Post-its for free. And I just started doodling bears, like you do. And one of my friends was like, "Well, these are cute. You should like put them into a comic or something." I was like, "I don't know how to do comics." Okay. So I just started writing, quick jokes with the bears, and they turn into these characters. And now they have miscellaneous adventures just running around New York, commenting about culture, yelling at ladies on the street, that kind of.
Is there just like two main characters, or like?
So there's two main bears. How I've set it up is I've got like kind of one of each archetype in there. So I've got the bear Hector. Toby is his boyfriend and a cub. Their friend Jake the otter. There's Kevin the pig. And they have a friend named Zeke who is a daddy. He's not a bear. He's just a daddy. Yeah, and then other characters come in as needed.
Yeah.
So you have these particular characters. Are they real life inspiration? Like, are these like a persona of your friends that you're doing?
Yeah. So when I'm writing them, it mostly comes from me. So they're different aspects of who I am, I think. So the main bear is the most like me. He's very sarcastic and dry, but also has like social anxiety and doesn't like talking to people that much.
Welcome to a podcast.
By the way, this goes to a global audience, all over the earth. The numbers are.
As long as they're
Just,
not talking back at me, I'll be okay. And then like the cub is my more like fun social side. The otter is he's a slutty kind of part of me, but also a mix of a couple of my friends, who I won't name, so they don't feel insulted. Kevin the pig is, the piggy side of things. He's into all sorts of kinks and stuff, so he shows up in those kinds of settings. And then Zeke the daddy bear is kind of like the mature one who kind of stays uninvolved in the bear community, other than like going to social events, but he like stays away from all the drama and stuff.
Oh, he's hashtag over it.
Yeah,
Been there. Hashtag been there, done that.
yeah.
Or just wise with experience.
So they're all parts of me, partially inspired by my friends, and also sometimes kind of aspirational. Like, man, I wish I was as clever as this line that I thought of, a couple days after whatever I'm referencing happens.
Nice.
So, it's a little wish fulfillment.
So
And so-
how did you... Go ahead, Damon.
No, you go ahead.
All right. How did you determine, like, creating all of these characters, the archetypes, and that kind of stuff? I mean, did you, I don't know, like, did you actually like watch YouTube videos, take an online class about animation or cartoon drawing and like storytelling and narrative, or did you kind of figure this out on your own, in a more organic way?
Yeah, it's been pretty organic. So I didn't go to school or anything for drawing, but I always drew as like a hobby. And growing up and like in college, I read a lot of webcomics. So I don't read a lot of like the classic DC or Marvel comics, but I like webcomics because they're more independent and they're more about the words than like this mythos and all the lore and stuff. So I really like that style, and like different authors kind of inspired me with either their style or their humor. And then the characters themselves, they kind of evolved over time. Like I was trying to learn just how to draw something cute, and I came up with the first couple bears, Hector and Toby. And then as I started writing more jokes and I kind of got an idea who they were as characters, I would think of a joke that wouldn't really fit their characters. So I was like, I guess I'll add this otter character who can make all the slutty jokes that Toby wouldn't say.
Ah.
Yeah, so the cast has kind of evolved over time.
And it's kind of, as I'm looking through, I'm kind of glancing through it. Sort of, obviously, you're kind of keeping it within like the small Post-it framework.
Yeah, all of my comics are drawn on Post-its.
Sweet.
Well, actually, everything on my Instagram feed that has a yellow kind of color to it is on Post-it.
Right. That was a question I was going to ask. Is because you a little bit ago while we were recording, you showed what appeared to be about a 6-inch by 6-inch mat board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these are 6-inch by 6-inch, but these are for Inktober, so they're like more finished, and they take more time and have more detail to them.
Right.
So I work bigger for Inktober, but generally I don't have any around me right now. But they are 3x3 posted.
Okay, so
so that kind of goes into my next question is every time you do a piece of artwork, is it always square? Do you ever deviate from a square?
Mm-hmm.
I have a follow-up question for that.
Usually, yes, things are in squares, or I do at least the drafting of them in a square, just because Post-its are cheap and I have thousands of them at this point. But for commissions, or sometimes I'll want to do something different. People will ask like, "Oh, I need something that fits in a standard frame." I'll be like, "Okay, I'll do a 4x6 if you really want." But yeah, I can, but I think more in squares now, just because of how I've been doing it over time.
Okay, so when I was in art school, we often had to do drawings of this nature, where our instructor would come by and she would give us whatever medium we were working with at that time, and she's like, "And this is all you have, so make it count."
Mm.
And I can relate to that because I'm a photographer, so it's important to tell your story with that one shot in mind.
Yeah.
So when you were doing your drawings, do you ever get frustrated at the fact that you only have this much space to work with, and you have all this stuff that you want to put into it, but it really forces you to edit what you want out of that drawing and be very mindful and specific about what pieces you're going to put in there to get the total message across? How do you process that and make yourself overcome that restriction?
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that I've always found is that restrictions actually help, because like what you're saying is, you need to focus and make sure that how you're communicating things is clear. So I think instead of being a limit for me, it's been more helpful, because, you can have all these ideas for how you want to do something, but if it's penned into this one frame, you have to, like you said, you have to edit yourself down. So what I've liked about working on posters is that, for example, with the writing, it has to be short, it has to be clear, it has to be witty, it has to get the point across really quickly, and the composition can't be like, these characters are 20 feet away from each other and they're like, you have to really think about how everything works together. So I don't necessarily get frustrated with it unless I think of a really funny joke that needs multiple panels to it. But even then, sometimes I've managed to squeeze a couple panels into a post-it. And if it's really something that I need to have a second panel for, I'll just do a second post-it.
So you work within the boundaries, but you've already figured out, like, they are not, universal rules that can never be altered. Like, you make it work as best you can.
Yeah, I'll stick with the post-its, and it's helpful for Instagram, obviously, because everything's in a square there. But if need be, I can be versatile. Wink.
Duly noted. So, what I wanted to ask earlier is the 6x6 that you're doing for Inktober.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you're done with all of those? Like, is there a plan besides that you're doing them on the 6x6s that are white instead of a yellow Post-it note?
Yeah, what I'll probably end up doing, and I did this last year, was I scan them all in, so I have their digital versions, and then I'll assemble them into a book. And I'll just have that art book. So if I go to a convention or like I went to Bear Week and I tabled at the vendor market there, I'll have that to sell. If there are any that I particularly like and I want to put on a shirt, I'll put them on my Redbubble. And then the originals, I'll pull this up again. So it's a 6x6, but I kind of draw within like a 5.5-inch square inside of it. So I'll probably trim it and then I'll mount them on 6x6 and then I'll sell the originals. That would just be at another convention or at a vendor market.
So do you do a lot of, I know you're based in New York, correct? So yeah. Do you do a lot of traveling to bear events or Comic Cons or what have you to kind of sell your wares or what have you?
I actually don't. I would like to more, but travel is expensive.
Yeah.
I went to Bear Week this year. I'd like to branch out into more events going forward. I just haven't.
Transfer.
Honestly.
And here I am. I'm texting Gary right now. Maybe we should invite him to Drenched Fur.
Nothing on my end.
I was in the middle of texting it. I didn't send it yet.
Did you finish it?
Where is Drenched Fur? I don't think I've been to that one.
Okay. Drenched Fur is up in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is the opposite corner of the state from where you are. So it's halfway between Buffalo and Cleveland along Lake Erie. There are some people that come from the state of New York. But to clarify, when we say New York, we're talking about NYC. So you're actually the city, not the state. So I clarified that only because it's kind of like when I talk to people from Texas. If they don't understand that Texas in and of itself as a state is big enough to be bigger than a lot of countries in the world, they think, oh, it's just a hop and a skip. And it's like, no. San Antonio to Dallas to Houston to, the RGV,
Austin?
and all that stuff. Yeah, Austin. It's very spread out. And Pennsylvania, oddly, is spread out in that it's like squat but long. So people don't realize to go from one corner to another actually is a bit of a challenge. Yeah, but we do have people that come from New York, so...
Maybe. When is it?
Next year is April 12th through the 15th.
Okay. I think I might
the
be
people
in
who organize it.
Wait, did you just say I might be in Japan?
Might be. Me and the boyfriend have been trying to plan a trip to Japan. We've been saving up. So that was around when we wanted to do it because that's around his birthday.
Aww. Well, I am totally not going to try to make my event sound way better than an entire country with an amazing culture and art history.
Look,
stuff. And all
it happens every year so far, so maybe not 2018, maybe 2019.
Although I will take this moment to ask this question, and obviously I cannot avoid not making it appear that I'm angling for something, but I'm going to ask it in this style. Brian, have you been approached by groups, organizations, events, or anything to do stuff for them or to make donations of art or anything like that for charity and that?
A couple times, like for Comic-Con, there were a couple bear events that they were doing. There was an event at Rock Bar on Tuesday, and then there was some Doctor Who thing that one of my friends was doing on Wednesday, and they asked me to donate a couple prints and stuff for prizes. And then Rock Bar has actually invited me back on Sunday, October 29th, to table there and kind of sell my wares. So it's happened. I would like to at some point do like art for an event if people wanted me to. I haven't been asked, but if people wanted me to, I could, I guess.
Well, and this is going to lead to the next question. Have you done, when you said you did commission, is the commission like, I would really like to see like Tony Stark, Iron Man, like verified in your art style, or has it been like, here's my headshot, make me into a comic? Do you know what I mean? Like I guess there's different ways they could go about that.
I mean, to be honest, I will draw anything that I get paid to do. Like whatever you want, I am down for.
All right, wait, hold on. This anything?
Anything within reason. I draw a couple lines, but not. Like I've done commissions. I drew people as Pokemon. I've drawn, people as bears. I've drawn superheroes as bears. Whatever someone wants me to do. If you're paying, fine, I'm down for it.
Gotcha. Spoken like a person that wants to make a nickel.
I'm going to bring up commissions again in a little bit, but I did want to say that one thing that I like about your art is how much it's influenced by pop culture and I guess geekdom. Fan. What do you call that? Like you've got Steven Universe, you've got Doctor Who, you've got comics, I see there's Mega Man on here. Like you're getting influenced, Pokemon. Yeah. You're getting influenced by all these different things. So whatever that is called. I don't know. Geekdom, nerdom, whatever. Yeah. I personally appreciate that. I remember seeing the Pokemon Steven Universe mashups before. I didn't realize that they were yours. I had seen them in a past.
I didn't know that anyone had actually seen those. Oh, you mean with Primarina and stuff?
I'm not sure.
Uh-oh.
But it's
like Steven and Incineroar and Steven and Decidueye.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on my feed.
I had seen them pop up on Tumblr a while ago. I don't remember when. But I was like, oh, those are really cool. Those would make really great T-shirts. I didn't realize that they were yours until I'm going through your Tumblr feed or your Instagram feed and seeing those.
They are.
So yeah, I just to me, those speak to me. I love mashups like that when two different pop cultures come together like that. And particularly when artists put their own spin on it with their own style.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge nerd, obviously. But I also have a very wide nerddom. Like, the Inktober's that I do, they're all from things that I have actually watched or I've read about or whatever. And that's, 31 different fandoms that I've covered. And I just have I've grown up, watching anime, reading comics, reading web comics, watching every cartoon I can find. And it's all been a big influence in how I think and how I draw and what my style is. So.
Yeah.
The recent ones you're doing for Inktober, I think that having them on the white background like you have is really awesome. The other thing that I like about it is the slanted lines. that you have in the corner to help frame it. And what I appreciate the most about that is how you are incorporating that framing with different pieces of the art to tie it all in. Like, I absolutely love this lumberjack one. Or,
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if it's a lumberjack, but the one with the axe, where it's coming through the line and it's kind of breaking the line apart as it's going through. I think that's fantastic.
That is actually Dale from Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Okay.
Oh.
Tyler Labine is Bay, and I wish he would notice me. But
Wow.
Oh, Tyler Labine. Oh.
but yeah, last year I wasn't really sure what I was doing with all of the Inktober's to kind of tie them all together. So I decided on the slanted lines this year because it's something that I can easily repeat no matter what I'm drawing. And when you post all of them and they end up in a grid together, they actually all connect through those as well.
Yeah, it ends up becoming one large piece that's all cohesive.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yes. They're all really interesting. I'm really enjoying. I've been as we've been talking. Why I've been quiet is because I've been like, I'm just going to kind of scan through and look at some of the things. And there's very funny little quirky things. Like, you're obviously talking about your main characters, and one of them isn't the artist. One of them is actual artist like you, it sounds like. So it's just very interesting seeing some of the fun little things you're coming up with that are, for some people, might be mundane, but it's really good if you put it in a very funny light. So I'm really enjoying it. I wish I could find the ones. I'm not on Instagram, but maybe this will give me a reason to join.
Yes, join Instagram. Be my follower. Follow me, I follow back.
Do you possibly have like a page or a group or anything on Facebook that ties your Instagram so it kind of auto populates and pulls over for the FB crowd?
Yeah. If you search for SquareBears comic on Facebook, I have a page there too.
Okay.
And SquareBears. Oh, look at that.
There you go, Damon.
Yeah,
like
An Instagram.
It's difficult, I think, for some people. You know, I think that's why Facebook is part of why it's so popular, not only as social media, but they've been trying to integrate all the other random pieces because it's hard for someone who wants to reach an audience as opposed to like just, one channel. So like what we do, I mean, for many years, it was just an audio podcast. This year we transitioned and now we do YouTube live shows that stay up. And then we also have the audio for RSS feed and that stuff. So people have different ways and capabilities to be, aware of our show and what we do. And I think it's just a piece of it. And that's where Jeff was like, hey, we have an Instagram and we're just starting up, and we've had Tumblr for a long time.
Well, I mean, it's like the dating apps, right? Like, you have to, if you want to access all of the people that are available, you got to get your Growler, your Recon, your Scruff, your Roamer. That's how you pronounce it.
And now I'm looking for you on Recon.
I was like, right, just gave that away.
Oh, no. I actually deleted the apps a while ago. Maybe my profile's still there.
Probably.
Then maybe I have to find my pics. Wink.
No.
So Damon mentioned earlier that there's a wide variety of your drawings that, there's comics, and then there's these singular, like the ones that for Inktober, it's singular with just a character, and there's really, there's no comic aspect of it. It's just the drawing on its own. Do you have a personal preference of what you like to do, like just for fun, just to doodle? What is your go-to thing?
Well, the way I think about it is I want to draw comics or do animation at some point. So what I enjoy about drawing is learning to draw anything. So I don't really settle on one thing that I draw or doodle as a go-to necessarily. Recently, though, I created this character, and there are a couple pictures of him on there. His name is Ghost Buddy Bear,
which I love. I think it's freaking adorable.
Mm-hmm. He is a ghost. He is a friend, and he is also a bear. And he's simple, but he's very expressive, and he's just kind of a joy for me to draw. He just makes me happy. But generally, it's I do have ADD, so my mind will randomly introduce an idea to me, and then I'll just draw it, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's naked dudes, sometimes it's a comic, sometimes it's Ghost Buddy Bear. But yeah, I don't know if I have a go-to. I just like to draw, and the act of drawing.
Yeah.
When you draw, does that help center your ADD?
It does. It's how I've dealt with my ADD is that it's kind of like there's always a person like yelling in my ear, like trying to distract me from whatever I'm doing. So when I'm doing drawing, there's a mechanical part to it once I figured out what my idea is, and then I can have that guy who's yelling in my ear like do the mechanical thing of finishing the drawing while the other part of me can like listen to a podcast or think about work or do whatever. So it's kind of like a conduit for that part of myself to like calm down while I get shit done.
Sweet.
I appreciate that Chester wanted to ask about the ADD thing. I want to go back to the drawing naked men thing. Is that a different Tumblr account or a different, like, well, probably not Instagram. Like, I don't know where you post that kind of stuff.
Some of them are here.
Or do you not post it? Is it more kind of like a private collection, and then someone has to, befriend you and come to your home and then, get under your bed or wherever you hide them at?
To my room of men. No. Hey, when it's not Inktober, I do Tummy Tuesday, where I'll draw a dude that I just find a reference picture on Tumblr or something. And I'll draw him, and I usually keep it PG. But most of those aren't on my Instagram feed at the moment, but they do show up on my Tumblr, and I do have a separate Tumblr called SquareBears, so it's BAES, and that is where I put my more detailed naked pictures as well as the reference material I find. So that's a pretty good link.
Spoiler for later in the show.
Interesting. Have to make sure that I follow you on that.
Don't worry, it'll be linked.
Cubs Out Loud After Dark, where we take our pants off and talk about top.
Some of us aren't even wearing pants right now, so.
Were we supposed to wear pants?
See, thank you, Brian. You totally understand this show. Some of the co-hosts, we're still training them after all these years.
Well, sometimes you need to go grab a drink while the show is continuing, and since we're on camera, the nice thing for me is I can switch to a different view so no one sees me anyways. So, because I have control.
Nice. Have you decided, and I'm going to ask this question for me, but also on behalf of the audience who aren't aware of what you've done, Brian, do you ever consider, or have you done like social commentary about things that are happening, whether it be zeitgeist or, political, or have you decided for yourself, I just don't really want to get into that. Like, I want to kind of keep it more in this universe I've started to create and just leave the reality where it is.
Yeah, I usually try and keep political stuff out of it. When the transgender ban happened, I had to do a drawing for that, just to make myself feel better. But generally, yeah, the comics, my goal for them is to write jokes that are semi-topical, but also something that you could read like a year or 3 from now and be like, okay, that's a funny observation, or it makes sense as a story kind of thing. So if I wanted to do more political things, I'd probably use different characters than my main ones. And I definitely have political thoughts that verbalize more on my Facebook status updates than on my comic. So I do try and keep the two separate generally.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm curious about the time investment. How long on average does it take you to do, say, a traditional once daily, like 3x3 post-it note web piece as opposed to the Inktober stuff that you've been doing?
So how it'll usually work is I'll think of a joke either at my desk or just walking around, and I'll write it down. If I have time, I'll do pencils, which will take like 20 minutes maybe to kind of figure out the blocking and where the words will go and everything. And then to finish the comic, I've gotten it down to where I think I can do a full panel in about an hour, including like adding some color and doing the final inks and everything. So that's about, I guess, a total of an hour and a half to 2 hours maybe. And then Inktober, penciling takes 30 to 45 minutes, probably just to figure out what the poses and what they're going to look like. And then the actual inking process will be like an hour and a half.
Makes sense.
So, like 2.5 then, each on the Inktober?
2.5 to 3. It depends on the character. Like some of them, like the Baymax one was really simple. So that one that took maybe like an hour 15. But if it's more detailed, like the one that I posted yesterday, which I don't have on me, had a lot of like detail and a lot of fires. Like the characters, he uses fire as a weapon. So
Yeah.
It took a lot more time to do that one. So it can vary.
Very cool. Are you a fan of like animation and art, like rendering, like in a lot of mediums, like movies and videos and that kind of stuff in print?
Yeah, I love animation. Ideally, someday I would like to end up in an animation job, but I went to school for finance, and that's just been what I've been doing for the past 8 years. 8 years.
So,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I love animation, all of its forms. I tend to have a lot of opinions on animation that people will roll their eyes at, like certain animation, like, oh, this is terrible, I can't even look. People will be like, just watch the stupid show. I'm like, no, it's bad. It's off model. What are they doing?
Nice.
But yeah, and my favorite stuff would obviously be like Studio Ghibli, My Neighbor Totoro, that kind of thing, where it's just gorgeous and very stylized, and it's just such an expression of the director's his vision and what he really cares about. I give a lot of thought to that kind of thing.
Do you have any opinions on that you care to share with us, because you don't have to, in regards to computer animation as opposed to like hand-drawn stuff?
The way I think about it is that it's a tool. It's a tool like a pencil or a pen. It can be done very well. It can be done very poorly. Like, if I'm thinking, so Flash animation, for example, where you have all these set assets that you kind of animate. It can be done very well, like My Little Pony. Yes, I'm going to use My Little Pony as an example. But they have their set assets.
We have bronies for listeners. It's okay.
But they have a very good way of using the assets, creating new ones to keep it diverse, and they have a very set style that they stick to. But then there can be other cartoons where they literally use the same people all the time. They just like walk and go meh 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 meh, and so it can be good or bad. And like full CGI, I usually have a problem with, just because I don't think we're at the point where human animation in TV is good enough. Like for characters, like for Ruby, which is a show on Netflix, I believe.
Yes.
But like there's certain anime where if they're using the CGI animation for like vehicles and robots, I think we're at a point where that looks good versus animating people and they just look like these moving mannequins.
Okay, I think that's interesting. So I'm going to ask you a kind of particular question. If you think in terms of like DreamWorks or Pixar and that kind of stuff, do you think that they're like still on a journey to, get realistic, or is it okay to not like make it look real? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah. I read this book by this graphic novelist named Scott McCloud. It's called Understanding Comics, and I think it kind of applies to animation as well. He's talking about, how realistic things should be versus how simple they should be, so the audience can identify with them. And when I think about cartoons specifically, the idea is usually the characters are more simple, and so people can identify with them. Like if you look at a smiley face, it's a smiley face, and you can kind of project yourself onto that. Versus backgrounds, which you keep more realistic because they're not the thing you're supposed to identify with. In regards to like Pixar and DreamWorks, I think they've done a really good job figuring out how to do backgrounds in a very realistic way, where they feel real but not something to identify with. Like my best example for this would be The Good Dinosaur, which I don't think anyone actually saw.
I watched it. Came out on my birthday.
Oh, okay. But The Good Dinosaur is a great example because the characters are very cartoony and they have these big expressive eyes and you can really identify with them. But Pixar made all these breakthroughs with animating like water and rivers and rocks and trees, and like it's so gorgeous if you just look at the backgrounds of it. And I definitely think there are some amazing things that they can do with computers now that cause that divide and kind of clarity in storytelling.
So to kind of tie in what you're talking about with that specific movie, The Good Dinosaur, I'm spent 13 of the past 14 years living in North Dakota. Mm-hmm. So when I saw I was at the D23 Expo for Disney when they released all of the trailers for The Good Dinosaur. And I was there with he's now my ex. But when they first started showing that, I was like, holy shit, that looks exactly like the Badlands in North Dakota. Mm-hmm. Come to find out, that's where it's supposed to be, is that area, the geographic area of the United States. So I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to how well done the animation is for the background of that specific movie. Because, yeah, it's ridiculous how detailed it is for being an animation.
Mm-hmm. And then you see things like Moana, where the ocean itself is a character, and they've figured out this way to animate water, where it looks like water, but it also has emotions, and it's amazing. And this is also, it's kind of like an issue of funding, because they have all the money in the world to make their movies versus most CGI stuff that gets generated. Like Ruby, I think, is made on a shoestring budget, for example. And I know it's improved in recent seasons. Fanboys, whoever are listening, I know it's better now, but when it started, it was terrible. You need to admit that to yourselves. But, if you have enough money, if you have enough time, and you have good enough artists, I think anything can look amazing now with the technology we have.
Very cool. Well, given the bear community and the size of and the scope of it, you are probably really freaking close, if not directly connected to someone who works in Hollywood, that works in computer animation film, that's a part of the bear community. So perhaps we'll find out in the future that you have more of a direct connection, and that can lead to some other stuff.
Referring to a certain director friend?
I am referring to a certain director individual that is a hot daddy that everybody wishes they could,
Who could you possibly be talking about?
I think he did some dragon movie.
Have connections at Disney. Just saying.
Well, I nearly lost my mind when I found out that I am friends with people that are very good friends with Dean, and I was like, oh god, like I don't get really like dumbstruck around people, but I'm pretty sure the day that I meet him, I'm gonna have to do everything I can to not just like be a blubbering idiot about not only is he a beautiful person to look at, but I think he's incredibly well talented, and I'm so proud of like the work that he's been doing.
Those movies are amazing, and he's done such a great job of translating a narrative into this kind of ongoing world and this story. And I really respect his work. I know I sent him like a thirst Facebook ad at some point. I don't believe he ever responded because I'm sure every bear in the world has requested him to be a friend. But yeah, I really do respect his work. I think he does a great job.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Tidal wave. Sorry.
Frog in your throat.
Just so you know, he goes to Tidal Wave every year, and if you are a cigar smoker or don't mind being around cigar smokers, there's your in.
Noted.
wow, I didn't know that he went to Tidal Wave. That is a not a secret anymore. Thanks, Chester.
I'm sure the people at Tidal Wave will be happy that you mentioned it.
No, I was thinking more Dean than Tidal Wave, but
He's got thousands of pictures of him at Tidal Wave over the past, like, I don't know how many years, but he's been there every year I'm there.
you're the first person that's ever said anything, and I apparently have not seen any of those pictures of Dean or not known that they're at Tidal Wave, which is why I was thinking, oh, like, oh, that was a really good secret till now. Because I think it's difficult for individuals who are considered celebrity to still be themselves. In other words, to be a human person and go places and not have, kind of the fanboy effect or whatever going on around them. Not that that's bad, but it's interesting. Someone recently said something to me about, I'm glad I know you now, like for who you are. We got to know each other as opposed to like, this weird distancy kind of thing where you're kind of like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like you have this image or concept of who a person is because of like one way you know of them or that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that I have friends that know Dean because my original was kind of like, oh my God, he's fucking gorgeous. And I would do anything, almost anything. But then when I found out that he has friends and like I've seen pictures and interactions and stuff and I'm like, oh, like he's actually just a really good guy, period. You know what I mean? He's not just this spank bank material kind of individual. So
And I think that happens with a lot of people on social media where like you see someone on Facebook and thirst at them. And then you actually see them in real life and you're like, oh God, I have no idea what to say to you. Do you know that we're Facebook friends? Because I know that we're Facebook friends and I say hi to you for a very long time. But it's also weird that I know who you are and know your name and know that you were at Arby's yesterday. And it's one of those weird things in like a small community that you don't realize how small it is until you meet everyone in it.
Yeah.
that's okay. We are
happened.
more than happy to have you join us and be a part of the community and we get to, put your handsome face out on camera in front of more individuals so you get more eyeballs looking at you and your stuff. I mean your art.
We know what you mean.
I'm sure if you look hard enough, my stuff is somewhere.
Where?
Again.
Well, okay
There was
then.
like almost a double cut of that. That was
So it happens to us every once in a while where we'll go to an event and we'll be wearing like our Cubs Out Loud shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody ever pegged you?
Actually,
in public or whatever?
yeah, I did have an experience. I went to DragCon New York, it was like a month ago now. And one guy came up to me in full drag. He was a bald queen, but he was in full drag. And he was like, oh my God, are you SquareBears? And I was like, yes. And he was like, yeah, I've been following you. We've chatted a bit. And I was like, yeah. And I looked him up later and I realized that he was a guy that I had chatted with a bit on Instagram just about comics. But he had shaved his beard. So I just did not recognize him at all. But if he's listening, it was really nice meeting you and you're a really cool guy. But it was a weird experience for me because I was like, it was in a, like, I wasn't there as an artist or anything, and someone just came up to me and I was like, hi, nice to see you.
All this so that like Instagram like thirst or Facebook thirst probably has kind of come back. It's the wave of it, the tidal wave of
I've
it
just
coming
been on
back.
both sides of it where people will come up to me hi, Brian. I'm like, who are you? Like, oh, we've been friends on Facebook for 5 years. Cool.
I kind of wished we had met before via the podcast before DragCon because I knew somebody who was a vendor at DragCon in New York City this year. And it was unbeknownst to me they were doing this until almost like a week before. All of a sudden he was like, hey, like I kind of have a new business thing that I started up and I'm going to be selling this merch and this is the stuff I've created. And I was kind of like, what? And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And if I'd known, he does graphic design. And so he was doing what is now currently one of the hot trends or fads, these mashups of, taking, these kind of concepts of, cartoon or animation or whatever, and then doing something with them in terms of like drag, but bear and that kind of thing. So if I'd known, I would have been like, hey, y'all need to like meet and chat and stuff and network. So it would have been pretty cool.
You're not talking about Rage Gear Studios, are you?
Oh, you're gonna now see you're throwing names out and quizzing me, and I didn't memorize and prepare for class today.
Ray Arzano and Eric Guerrero were they're two of my favorite artists, and they're really good friends. And they were tabling at DragCon, so I was wondering if that's what you meant.
What were the names again? Because I didn't catch that part.
Well, they're Rage Gear Studios on Instagram, but their names are Ray Arzano and Eric Guerrero.
No, I'm gonna say not.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, David is one of the individuals of the company I'm thinking of. But offline, I'll kind of try to connect you or show you, point out who I was talking about.
Cool.
Neat. Is there anything else we have questions about?
I have questions regarding commissions because you mentioned earlier that you do commissions, and so I've actually got a couple. How much are commissions?
What is their commission, though?
What is a commission?
No,
I'm not kidding.
I'll take commissions myself, but so if somebody were to come to you and ask you to do a commission piece, what are the parameters for that? Like, do you have a size in mind, or is it their choosing? Is there a price point that you try and hit?
Yeah, usually I'll ask, what size you're thinking, what's the content you're going for, and like how finished do you want it to be? Like, do you want a pencil thing? Do you want an inked drawing? Do you want a full color drawing? So that really impacts how long I spend on it. And I will generally determine the price based on how long I think the drawing is going to take. So once that is all kind of specified, and I'll do whatever, like size, detail, all that kind of thing, I'm fine doing it. And as long as you're cool with what I come out with, then we're square. But
I see what you did there.
But yeah, I will draw anything, and I have drawn everything that I could think of at this point, other than like a lamp or something. If you love lamp, you can draw you a lamp.
So for the commissions, I'm pretty sure you just answered this, but I want to make sure. Is it more of what the customer is asking you to do, or I know lots of people out there like having their persona drawn, and there's literally hundreds upon hundreds of artists out there who that's all they do is they draw personas for other people, and then they have, these are my commission rates, and if you want it, as you said, just pencil or ink or full color, so on and so forth, and that impacts the price. It's all based on time. Would it be better for somebody to say, here's a picture of me, and I want you to reimagine me as a bear? Like more of a anamorphic bear. Anthropomorphic, thank you. I knew the word was there, but I wasn't saying it right.
Well, there's anthropomorphic, and then there's zoomorphic, and they are technically different. Where anthropomorphic is taking an animal and giving it human characteristics, and zoomorphic is taking a person and giving them animal characteristics.
Okay.
So usually when people talk about furry stuff, they are, well, I don't want to say one way or the other, but what I do is more zoomorphism, where I'll take like what you said, I'll take a picture of someone, and then I'll like add bear ears and a bear nose and that kind of thing. But if someone wanted me to draw their persona, if you want to describe it to me, send me some reference pictures. Like, if you want to include whatever animal you are, sure, why not? I can do that. Like, I usually ask if someone wants me to do a likeness, I want like 2 good pictures from different angles of their face, so I can kind of interpolate, like if I want to do an expression or something. But yeah, I'll request reference pictures if I need them, or I'll just Google things.
Cool.
Neat.
Interesting. Have you ever, instead of commission, I guess this is like the opposite of that. Have you ever kind of, this is an awful reference, fanboyed, like, and done a rendering of someone or a group, or you know what I mean, in your style?
I've done a couple of those as like maybe like a birthday present or something for people, where I'll just do it on my own, or if I need it. I gave away a couple when I was like kind of developing my portfolio and my style, just to be like, I used your picture, here's the drawing for free, enjoy. But I don't know, when I draw people, I'll just, like, if I'm fanboying about something, I'll usually just draw them how they're drawn, or how they are, unless it's for Inktober, then I give them barriers and stuff.
Interesting.
I don't know. It depends on what I'm feeling in the day, because sometimes I wake up and I can draw faces, and sometimes I wake up and I can only draw hands or something. So,
hands are so fucking hard. Oh my god.
They're really hard, but some days there are those golden days where I wake up and I'm like, I get hands. Oh my god, they're circles and also tubes.
Drop sausages.
Nice. Well, I will say this. Oh boy. I will say this, right? If the spirit moves you and you decide to personify a podcast, perhaps one you've been on, that has been tried to be as polite as we can without being too inappropriate, I think that would be a cool, flattering thing for them to receive.
Uh-huh.
Just remember, it's Pup Shutter.
I mean, I'm kind of tied up with Inktober right now, and I'm literally drawing nothing but those. But who knows? Maybe one day the spirit will with me.
It's not like there's anybody asking for anything, or
right.
So.
No, but seriously, I was being silly about it. I think everyone would appreciate whatever it is that they get from you, in terms of like the work that you do. So, that's pretty awesome. Is it naughty time?
I think so. In the spirit of artistic stuff, I decided to reference another artist, Bruton Braun, and one of his Inktober drawings, Day 2. Just a daddy bear out of bed, naked.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think these he's all doing just black and white pencils, grays.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It looks like he does it digitally.
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He's one of my 2017 Tumblr new follows. I was like, ooh, like, love, follow, blog.
Yeah, he's definitely doing. It's very interesting. I went to his the full page, and I'm looking at some of his other Inktober things, and it's very cool, very very cool. Yeah.
Damon, what's your Tumblr picks?
So this is just I don't remember when I ran into this one. Last month, obviously, but he's heat conditioning, and it's just a really awesome sort of pose. He is clothed, but I just really like the look and the pose and the profile and everything else in the picture.
And the beard.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
I follow him.
You know what? Listen, don't be shady like that. Unnecessary. Really unnecessary. You know? I just happened to, have met people over the years, and I met Will when I was in San Diego visiting the 619 Bearcast crew out there. He's a really nice guy. He was very kind of quiet and withdrawn. I was like, oh, he's like super cute and shy, which makes him more adorable. Now, things may have changed since then, but yeah, I've been following him online. He's actually gone through quite a physical journey. He's lost weight now. He's like being very focused on stuff, and he has amazing ink. So if you get to see like without a shirt on or whatever, he's got some nice tattoos and stuff. So yeah, awesome stuff.
Nice.
Oh, and on Instagram at PW.
Oh, which is the same as his Tumblr.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to know.
I do not know who that person is.
I would like to
Putting it out there.
It's okay. You
Usually,
don't know everybody.
Usually I do know these people, but this one I don't. I've never seen him before in my life.
Well, sweet. Now you have. Enjoy.
And now I have. And I am.
And Chester, how about you?
Okay, so mine I titled No Better Time or Place.
Holy shit.
It's a couple who's in, I'm going to guess, a stairwell. And it looks like maybe they were at a wedding or some other type of white tie or black tie type of function. But they're all getting it on in a stairwell, and it looks like somebody snapped a picture of them, like, from up above. Yeah. I don't know who the guy on the right is, but that is some nice ass and legs, let me tell you.
Yeah. But I want to. I don't know who you are.
And a beard.
But I won't. Yeah. It's a really good shot as well. Like, I'm trying to, like, I don't know. I don't think it's like as candid as.
Oh no, this is definitely staged.
Yeah, but still, it's just very, very. Like, I get a lot of like good vibes from it and imagery from it. I'm loving the hand on the hair, like holding the face, like holding the back of the head, kind of thing. Just very intriguing composition.
They're really about to get into it.
Mm-hmm. Gary?
So, because we were having Brian on, I thought it might be appropriate to try to find something on Tumblr that was, art-ish, cartoon, whatever, and something newer as far as like art style. And so, this particular artist, Bro Creations on Tumblr, that's BRO, and the word creations all one word, has this what I call amazing vintage style. So Chester, you'll probably immediately recognize this kind of like art style because it goes back to older Disney, the black and white, like back at the, not Mortimer Mouse, but pretty close, I think, to that era. And I think in some of the Disney games, I don't know if it's Kingdom Hearts or other ones, that some of the characters are in this style.
Very
and so
kind of Popeye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just love how it's very adult inappropriate like
Yeah.
like renderings of this what I think was a more innocent time in animation. So this one I believe that they might be French. I'm not quite sure, but the title is in French Return to Me or Return to Moi. But yeah, and what's batshit crazy about this is that they have the red concentric circles that make it look like Looney Tunes background thing, but it's a black, white, gray scale of a muscled gentleman putting his finger up his rear end while wearing Nikes and a ball cap. Yeah, it's a lot of random, but it cracked me up to no end. I was like, that is fucking hysterical. It needs to be a reblog and stuff. So yeah.
The I don't know if there's an actual name for this type of style of cartoon or drawing, but it's very 1930s style of animation. And not to get too off of topic, there is a game that was just released called Cuphead.
Yep.
And it is done in it's a side scroller, and it's done in this type of style of animation.
Nice. So yeah, so that might be a new Tumblr account for people to follow if they happen to look it up and be like, oh, that's kind of neat. So I'm really kind of on a kick over the past, I think, 2 years about artists who are putting out very stylized rendering stuff. Kind of like, I don't think I've put him on here yet, but I'm like Randy/Tunes is another one on Tumblr that I'm following, and I'm trying to get all the notifications because he's taking basically a lot of comic book character base and like sci-fi fantasy and twisting them in like very kink XXX ways. And then they're all going in, I think it's the Redbubble, and so they're all turning into t-shirts, cups, and stuff like that. So some of them you can get an uncensored versions, and then you can get a more censored version. So he has a really good eye about like creating something, and then like so you can see part of the image. So you could possibly have that out in public, but then you could also have
nice
the whole thing if you want to or whatever. So yeah, it was it's very cool. Anyways, Brian, what about you? What's your Tumblr pick?
Well, my Tumblr, that I didn't have a specific pick, but as I referenced before, I do have my own Tumblr called SquareBears. .tumblr.com, where I just basically reblog all the pretty people I see on Tumblr.
Ooh.
And I usually try and pick ones that have interesting poses or have very clear dimensions and everything. So just take a scroll through there. There's some muscle bulls going on.
Yeah.
Some stuff.
There's a Triforce of penis.
That one I wanted to save just because I thought it was amazing aesthetically.
Yeah.
I appreciate those three men and them taking the time to do that.
Yes.
Nice.
But yeah.
Now, on SquareBears, I might have misheard, but do you have some of your own drawing stuff on there?
Yeah, if you scroll down, there's some older ones. I haven't had a chance to post them on there just because I started putting my Tummy Tuesdays onto my normal SquareBears.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if I do draw dudes, they will end up on there usually.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, isn't it difficult being an artist and wanting to promote your own self and try and determine, I myself, I've got 2 different Instagram accounts, and I don't necessarily know which one I want to post to at times.
I mean, that's
Same thing with my Tumblr.
Yeah, that's an ongoing struggle for me. For the first couple of years of doing SquareBears, I actually refused to post selfies on it because I wanted to gain followers purely based on the quality of my writing and my comic. I think I kind of reached a point where I got to maybe like 1,500 followers, and it kind of plateaued out, and it just got to a point where I was running these other Tumblr or these other Instagrams. That one was called Not SquareBears, which is where I would post my selfies and like my normal everyday life stuff, and I also had the SquareBears Instagram, where I would post my non-bear drawings of dudes, and it was too much to like keep up, and it just got frustrating. So I posted selfies on my normal SquareBears, and my followers increased exponentially after that.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yay!
I appreciate the whores that follow me. Not the ones that don't. So follow me, and I'll appreciate you. But yeah, it is a conflict, and it's hard to determine what to put where. And now I'm thinking I'll probably create a separate Instagram that I won't tell anyone about. That'll be like a professional portfolio. This is like my clean stuff to like reference for professional contacts.
Yeah.
Like it's hard with social media. If you're not drawing something sexy, sometimes people don't care. So.
True.
That's true. I mean, and I think the difficulty that we're talking about right now is the navigating. Like, how do I have a professional art life and my art life, and then like my maybe smutty art life? Like, are they all in one the same thing? Are they different? How do you break them out? You know, that kind of thing. I mean, it's kind of like I was just discussing actually with Chess about Facebook and like creating your kind of grouped privacy stuff. So what goes to certain eyeballs and that kind of thing. I was telling the story actually, Chester, when you stayed at my place and you were like, wait, how many of these things do you have? Because you were blown away by how many different groupings I've created, you know, as to where posts can be seen by my friends. And I'm a type of person where I'm like, if I think like that's not of interest to you, I don't see why I should put that out there. Like, so it makes sense that you kind of create channels or control that kind of stuff. So very cool.
I mean, it even stems from like when the internet was young and I created multiple email addresses. Like, there's one that I use for professional stuff. There's one that I use for my comic stuff. There's one that I use for, you know, buying stuff. So all of my hello.
We were. I was gonna say, and then we were blessed with Gmail, but clearly we are blessed with Chess and his torso and crotch.
Yes, we are all right now visually being blessed by Chess.
He finally makes his cameo.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, Brian, if you haven't met Chess, that's Chess.
Nice to meet you, Chess.
You too.
Hi again.
Oh,
hey,
Ice lock.
That's
there's an ice lock.
Okay.
okay.
So you fill it with water,
Okay.
and it freezes solid.
Put water
And
in
as
it,
it melts, the pieces will come apart.
and then you put that in there and you freeze it,
Oh, okay.
and then it doesn't
Now I
open
get it.
until it
Gotcha.
melts.
So, could we explain to the audience the context of why we're suddenly talking and doing a show and tell about an ice lock? Because I think that was all off.
We were talking about it earlier.
Earlier,
No, that was during
I made the suggestion that maybe we should bind up Gary in some ice locks, and when it breaks apart, then we know that the conversation can end.
There we go. Well, I couldn't remember if that was in the chat on YouTube or actual show or whatever. So
No, it was on the show.
there's that.
Bye-bye, I'm done cameoing.
Bye,
Bye, Chess.
Torso.
Bye, Chest Torso.
All right. I think it's time to move on to the links. Again, because we're talking about art, I'm gonna link to one of my favorite artists, Scott Johnson's Extra Life comic at myextralife.com. And it's just a bunch of geeky, nerdy stuff, sometimes some social commentary. Like he even has like parodies, like Riker's Island is a small island with a Riker on it, which is like from the 15th. But you can look through some of his past stuff, and he's got just some puns, parodies, and more comic-ish sort of things. So,
And
so is he
sweet.
my geeky pick, my geeky cartoony pick. Also, I wanted to point out because October 3rd was Mean Girls Day. Danny Franzese launched a new podcast with AJ Cassidy called Butch and the Bear from Reverie. You can subscribe to it through the various different things. I linked to the Reverie page here, but you can subscribe to it on YouTube, etc. Or not YouTube, iTunes, etc. SoundCloud. I think they got a whole bunch of things, so you can listen to that. And I just listened to their preview, their first one. I haven't actually listened to the official first episode, but it sounded pretty cool and they're funny, and it's Danny Franzese. Enough said.
Yay!
I met him at Dragon. He is cool.
Yeah, I also follow him on Instagram.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He was doing signings and stuff, so I met him and his mother.
You got to meet Mama. That's awesome.
Joni, I believe is her name, and she was very sweet. She's so supportive of her son, and I love it.
Butch and the Bear. That's
She's
an
been
interesting
pretty cool
name.
on he's done some video stuff. I think on YouTube he had like a whole series. He had like what shit Italian moms say, which
Yeah.
was like this really bad like spoof parody thing of like him, about what Italian mothers do say. But then eventually he had his mom on for a different series, in which he asked her questions about, and it was all basically gay related, like what she thinks of him being gay and gay culture and stuff like that. So, but she's if I recall correctly, she's very Joy-Z. And so that's kind of the fun of it.
Long Island lady.
See, and there's my ignorant Pennsylvania clear on the other side of like perspective. I'm like, y'all just a melting pot, and to me it's just it's interchangeable.
Do they use
So
a lot in Pennsylvania?
What's that?
Do they use y'all a lot in Pennsylvania?
All right, no, they don't. Good grievous.
Y'all is where I'm from, down here in Texas.
I am a bit of a mutt when it comes to vocabulary and verbal, so I lived
Y'all
in this
didn't know
bit here and there. So
That's fine. I grew up in Chicago and I went to school in DC, so I don't even know who I am. Honestly.
you're metropolitan, is what you are, from the sounds of it.
You're Neapolitan.
Jet setter.
Neapolitan.
I'm not that ambitious.
Nice.
If he's Neapolitan like ice cream, can I lick?
I knew that was gonna happen.
Yep.
Anyways, can you tell him I'm a bit thirsty? Anyways, moving on. Damon.
So for me, we actually talked about this a little bit earlier. So if you know Trixie Mattel and Katya, they do a show on called and this is just one of their episodes, and it's a lot of the best of Trixie's Mattel stuff. It's just not quick little, but like it's a bunch of segments and just some of her funniest jokes and funniest one-liners and what have you. And I was watching it the other day and about pissed my pants laughing so hard. I haven't seen a lot of the show, but like Chester, I've seen like bits and pieces, and I forget what made me. It may have shown up on my YouTube like suggestions, and I started watching it, and now I just can't stop. And the main reason is because these guys are so fucking hilarious. And this is just one half of this team, this duo, and I'm loving it and laughing my ass off and super enjoying it. And I thought you guys would enjoy it too.
Yeah, and if you like this, then there's two things I suggest. You actually can go on YouTube and subscribe to WoW Presents, and I think you can actually just kind of, pick out their section for the show. But what's awesome is coming up in November, they are launching via Vice their other show, which is a parallel, kind of similar, which is the Katya and Trixie show, where they're doing the same kind of like banter where they get a topic and they have a back and forth discussion with all the same silly visuals, and they're doing interviews with people on the street, with celebrities. Some of it they're out of drag, so they're actually like boys. It looks pretty interesting. I'm very excited for them. They're the first of all the Rue girls in a way to like make this kind of thing happen, to be post show career working it and spinning into something else and stuff in a different arena. So I'm happy for them. So yeah, definitely check out Damon's pick, because these best ofs are quite hysterical.
Yeah, so fun.
Pumpkin spice flavored condoms.
Chester, how about you?
Okay, so my pick is to Sidekick Productions YouTube channel. And the reason why I picked that is because Skeleton Crew, which I am repping their t-shirt today, is coming out with their season 3, which airs on October 30th. And we are supposed to be doing a guest, having them as guests on our show at some point, whenever we can line up schedules to do so. So I know Halloween is right around the corner. It's a good time for them to release their new season, so that's what I chose.
Sweet.
The shirt that I'm wearing was actually given to me at Tidal Wave, this past Tidal Wave, by my friends Calvin and Alex, and I know they're friends with the crew for Skeleton Crew.
And getting like.
I think they're friends. I haven't gotten that far into season 2 to 5 or 3. What was that?
We were getting some major lag from you. So
You were saying that earlier that you're having some lag issues. It just kind of shut up just now. It's okay.
We'll check it out. Gary?
My pick is actually still on the RuPaul track. Sharon Needles released a new music video to her song Battle Axe. So it's the official YouTube video for that. There's some cameos in it, and I was really, really super impressed with this. I haven't been a big Sharon fan since the show, just because her spook style and all that is kind of, it's okay to me. You know, I don't poo-poo it, but it's just not speaking to me specifically that I go fanboy over it. But this is a little different. It's not so much on like the spooky, scary stuff. It's very interesting, and I think well executed on this celebrity impersonation, like duplication kind of style. So she does Joan Crawford. She does, and it took me forever to figure out what she was doing and peg it, because it was kind of, I think, more about camera angles than what was happening. It was about Bette Midler. And so, yeah, like you pay attention. She does some killer kind of looks and stuff. So I was like, she looks, and I don't know what the actress's name is because I didn't watch the show. She does a thing from the TV show. I think it's Dynasty.
Oh no.
And and so that's where when I posted this on Facebook, I was like, hey, y'all should check this out, and you will not believe who does the guest cameo, like Rue Girl appearance in this spot. So that's what, Chester, I think you were talking about earlier today, was like you finally watched it, and even you were kind of like, oh, all right. Like,
I was not expecting who I thought I was going to see.
Yeah. So no, I thought it was pretty cool. So actually, I just wanted, if you're interested or you kind of like that stuff, to check it out. It's fun, and the song it's fun, you know. So
sweet.
And that was me mine. And then Brian, our illustrious and handsome guest, what do you have for picks for folks?
Yeah, so I picked two things. I'll talk about the non-self-serving one first.
Self-serving. I can help with that.
My friend sent me this clip from, there's a cartoon on Cartoon Network called The Adventures of Gumball, which is about a cat and his goldfish friend interacting with the world, and they were dealing with this plant enemy, and they were trying to kill him, and while they're fighting him, he screams out to gag on his eleganza, which made me very excited, because that means that drag culture has somehow transcended from this really obscure place in our lives into, cartoons. So there's some gay guy that watches RuPaul's Drag Race working at Cartoon Network.
Yes.
Just one?
I'm sure
one?
Just the one.
Someone in the writing department got their hands on a script, and it's quite fabulous.
Nice.
Really, I love it. I actually, it's funny that you mentioned it. I actually watched this episode when it aired. I saw it air like last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just made me very happy. And then the second one, the self-serving one, is I do have a Redbubble. where I put up designs for shirts that I make that are based on SquareBears. So the link is redbubble.com/people/SquareBears COMC, because there is a character limit at Redbubble of 15, and SquareBears comic is 16. So
No!
yeah. So if you take out the I in comic, you'll be able to find me. Or if you just Google SquareBears bubble.
You could
Yeah.
you could also just go to the Cubs Out Loud website and scroll down in the notes, and there will be a link right there. So that's also an easy way too.
Oh my God, Brian, I totally remember your stuff. And that isn't to, like, say that you don't do good work, but the one shirt with the pride flag diamond in the background,
Mm-hmm.
that one in particular, I know I've definitely seen before, like often and a lot, and really liked that. So when was that one done? Do you recall offhand? Like,
That one was done 2 years ago. Well,
Okay.
yeah. Well, it was done around the time of the Pulse shooting, because that was kind of a in memoriam, or like celebration of love kind of idea.
hmm
But I really liked it, and I wanted to have a shirt of it, so I put it on a Redbubble for me, basically. But it's
Nice.
available if people want it.
yeah, no, that one's very, very awesome. I'm like, yay! Oh, do I see an it?
Yes, you do.
Nice.
He's part of. Periodically I'll do Masters of Bearer, because I hate myself, and that's what I called it. But it's
Wait, where are you looking?
On Redbubble, he has a shirt design.
Okay. I see it now. Got it.
Yeah, so on there's a collection called Masters of Bearer, and it's just like horror film icons drawn as bears, on shirts. I particularly like the Scream one because it makes a really good phone case. My boyfriend's current phone case.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Neat.
Merch.
Merch.
We totally understand that.
Have you seen our store?
I have.
I love the Babadook bear. Babadook.
Babadook? Yeah.
Yes.
He was part of my Pride celebration this year, where they all... I don't know if you remember that scene in Drop Dead Gorgeous where they're all wearing the monuments on their head. But I basically parodied that with my characters.
Sweet.
That's fantastic.
All right.
Well, I will say this, since you are into merch and we're into merch. If you do happen to make something that relates to both of us, we'd be more than happy to like cross-pollinate that. So
Noted.
Cross-pollinate.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
or putting
I would
in
hope.
or whatever.
Feeling what you're putting in.
Hey, guess what, folks? That's the end. Oh. Play ways to contact us. You can pop over to our website, cubsoutloud.com, where you can find links to everything we've talked about here. You can shoot us an email at cubsoutloud@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail, sexy or otherwise, at 361-COL-TALK. That's 361-265-8255. Follow us on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube at Cubs Out Loud in the appropriate place in the URL. Join us in the COL Entourage group on Facebook and the Cubs Out Loud Entourage group and BearUnderground.net, the official Bear website of Cubs Out Loud. You can rate us on iTunes, subscribe to us at Google Play's podcast, give us a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio. You can find me anywhere in the internet as Box Type Box Puppy Box Cub Box something or other.
I am TheaterCub79 on Bear Underground, Growler, Tumblr, etc. Or you can find me as pup_umbra on Twitter.
You can find me on Tumblr or Twitter under the name The Pup Up There. Getting cruised in the steam room at my gym, or various bear dating sites across the net under the name Pup Shutter or Cupcake76.
Nice. My name is SquareBears73, pretty much online anywhere that you want to find me. Or you never know, I might randomly just show up in a strange city, in a strange town, with strange people, doing strange things.
In a dungeon.
Brian, where can people find you?
Let's not box me in, okay? I don't need to be restrained to just one kind of background, okay?
And Brian, where can people find you?
My main venue is I post on Instagram at SquareBears. I also have a Tumblr, squarebearscomic.tumblr.com. Facebook page is SquareBears. And on Twitter, you can find me at SquareBears as well. Links to my Redbubble are on the website, I believe. So.
And with that, say good night, everybody!
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good one, y'all.
So that was a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Every minute was worth it.
Especially when you have this gorgeous guest host.
So I'm
So
Brian, I'm scrolling through our mutual friends on
Mhm.
Facebook, and it's weird that out of the 50 we have in common, I've not met like 3 of them.
Huh.
So it's weird how we've never crossed paths before.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's entirely possible that I haven't met most of them. So, I'm not kidding about the thirst ads.
Yeah.
I understand wholeheartedly.
Yeah, we're
Hi, Chaz.
post wrap up. Hang on a second. Let me go
We're,
back to
we're
it.
still streaming, but
Hi,
no,
Chess.
no one can see anything.
They can't see or
Your
hear.
boyfriend's very
They
handsome
can
as
hear.
well.
Oh, thank you.
So Chess, meet Brian. Brian, meet Chess.
Hi, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
I'm more than just a torso, I promise.
Well, we now know you have a face.
If you don't want to.
Yeah. So, hey.
Hey, I'm gonna stop streaming now.
Yeah.
Oh, bye-bye.